Hey, I'm Sam, sitting on a hillside as usual. I tried to do a walk and talk this week, but I kept getting interrupted, which was a little frustrating. It's busy this time of year up here, and I tried yesterday morning. Actually, I got up really early on Sunday morning and had a coffee, and I came up the hill to a path I didn't think anyone would be on, especially not early Sunday morning. And I walked and I talked, and then I sat on a rock and just shared a few thoughts. And I heard these voices coming up the path, and I thought, oh no. And these two lycra-clad, perfumed people came marching past me, and so I just abandoned that. It's very funny actually, because people from the city always smell of perfume, and they're always dressed in a way that places fashion over form and function. And these two lycra-clad, perfumed people were great examples of that. And they're probably not even wearing perfume, it's just the smell of their laundry liquid, because they're always wearing clean clothes. But it's very strange, and they rarely meet your gaze either. Here in the country, we say hello to everybody. We meet each other's gaze, and it creates a bad feeling if you don't do that in a small community, because why would you not do that? You know, if you can't look at someone in the eyes, what are you hiding? What are you scared of? So yeah, it's strange this time of year. I kind of like living in a place where tourists come, because there's a buzz about it. But at the same time, the whole vibe changes seasonally, and I do prefer the winter. I prefer the cold. I prefer the snow, and I prefer the solitude. So I look forward to this winter. Now I feel comfortable doing the walking and talking. Gosh, I can take you to some really beautiful remote places. So I'm looking forward to that. So I do have a poem to read, which I haven't done for a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to that as well. You know, grief comes in waves. And I think I'll always grieve, because there's just so much. 50 years to feel and process and let go. And so grief comes in waves. And it has been easing over the last few months. Much more manageable. But I don't know why. Over the last couple of weeks it's become very intense, and I've had 3 or 4 episodes of the most intense grief. I think maybe it was because I've been scared lately. I've been scared for my future, scared for the life that I would have, because I thought that maybe I was never going to get well, and I would end up in sheltered accommodation, medicated. I couldn't see a way that I could ever have the ability to make decisions again that I could build upon and start getting some traction and actually rebuilding my life after this last 10 years of complete disintegration. So I lost all belief in myself, because the self I used to believe in was a coping strategy. It was hollow and brittle and fragile and masked unbearable pain. And so as that identity disintegrated and I began to feel that pain, there was no self to believe in. There didn't seem to be an identity to believe in. And gradually I've been finding myself, but that identity isn't really an identity. I don't think it's It's more expansive, less fixed, less certain. And it's difficult because we have to believe in, we have to have a goal, we have to have a desire to, give ourselves a motivation to achieve anything really. And if you kind of don't feel like you're a person, sitting on a rock in the middle of the forest is kind of feels like the most appropriate thing I can do. And so I wasn't really getting anywhere. And I think, that fear really brought me into more intimate contact with what it is I've been dealing with. And so I had these intense waves of grief. And it's really crippling. And I go through this process of disassociation, and I want to escape. And I go for a walk, or I try and do something, but then I find myself hitting this wall, and I disassociate, and I'm just standing or sitting and staring into space, unable to think, unable to choose to do anything, just completely frozen. Not even being aware of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. There is just nothing. And so I had 3 or 4 of those episodes over the last 2 weeks, and then the final one about 4 or 5 days ago, I had my hat. I'm going to go for a walk. I put my hand on the door handle, the front door, and I just kind of froze, and I tried to turn it. And I thought to myself, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know what I feel. I can't do anything to escape. I just froze. And then I went and sat down. My mum, who I'm staying with at the moment, who, she and I have been on a 20-year journey to heal our relationship. And over the last 3 years, she's, changed a lot and taken responsibility for what happened and really done her best to forgive herself. And she's been very supportive, and her bedroom is near the front door of the cottage. And so she saw me freeze, and she just looked at me, and she was sitting in bed reading, and she said, "Come and sit down," and patted the bed. And so it's very difficult sometimes, because when I go through these episodes, I look at her and I remember. And so what we have been through together over the last 3 years has been very, very difficult. And very often we relive things that happened, and she regresses back and adopts the identity that she had at that time, and she says and does things. It's like this entity repossessing her, and I see it and hear it and feel it and reflect it back and say, this is how this feels. This is how it felt to me when I was a child. This is how it feels now. Can you see this? Can you feel it? And it's very, very powerful. And then we cry, and I shout, and we both end up sobbing and falling into each other's arms and just saying sorry. Just saying sorry, and I love you. And I know what she went through, and I do forgive her, but it's difficult. So we cry. But this last episode, it was different. And eventually I got to her bed and made those few paces very slowly and just sat down, and she just put her hand on my back. And I just screamed. That scream of anguish. And it's not really a silent scream, it's audible, but it's restrained. And I just sat there with my fist clenched, just screaming that pain. And, usually it doesn't really last very long. And but this time it did. It lasted a long time. And I in my mind's eye, I could see everything that I was screaming about, that primal cry of anguish. And I could see everything I went through as a kid. I can see what that did to me. I could see how it confused me and disturbed me and twisted me, contorted my mind, and how I coped with it all. And I could see the years I went through of drug abuse and self-harm and eating disorders and terrible confusion as I turned everything against myself and became my own abuser. It was awful. But as I could see all this, I also saw something that I didn't want to see before. And it was that everything got worse when I transitioned. It didn't get better. Transition worked for me on one level only. It helped me escape. And it gave me a way of being seen and being validated by others' attention, which was very powerful. And because that was like the core thing that I was always needing, safety, care, love, that's why transition worked so well for me. And that's why it kind of, all the other stuff that went along with the self-harm of transition didn't really register with me for a long time. I didn't even really care that I'd mutilated my body and I was pretending to be something I wasn't, and I crippled my ability to be sexually intimate. I didn't care about any of that really at the time. All I wanted was to be seen and to be cared for and to be loved. And that's why it works so well. But also my drug abuse and self-harm got worse, and I didn't want to acknowledge that before. It got a lot worse because I couldn't handle my emotions, and without testosterone, that laser focus that testosterone gives, I couldn't stop those feelings arising. And I cared more than ever before about what people thought of me, how people saw me, and I felt more vulnerable than at any other time in my life, because it mattered so much to be seen a certain way and needed to be seen like a woman, otherwise the whole thing fell apart. And so that's what I did. I became this performance. I lived in the gaze of other people, in the arms of every man I was with. I was looking for the care and attention of my father. And in the admiration of women, I was looking for validation and acceptance. And I was so vulnerable and so unstable. I think that's why the drug abuse and the eating disorders got so bad. And I could see it all. And I acknowledged, for the first time, that for me to heal, for me to find stability and to be able to truly heal, detransition needs to take another step. It's not just, okay, I've socially detransitioned, I've changed my name, I'm having a mastectomy as soon as a surgical slot becomes available, which hopefully will be around October. it's another form. It's another thing that I need to do, and that is accept. Can you hear that? Every time I make a video, there's a bird of prey appears. That's so strange. Yeah, so I realised that, fundamentally, what I have always been scared of, is being a man. I was terrified of men when I was a kid. I was terrified of men all through my teenage years because of the violence I experienced. I was terrified of my father. I tried to become what I was terrified of. It didn't work, so I escaped. And I've always been terrified of being a man. And in my mind, secretly, I've been thinking, yeah, I'm getting a mastectomy. Yeah, I've socially detransitioned. But if I want to, I can still look like a woman. I'm still going to dress. When at social gatherings, I'll still dress in a feminine way, and not quite androgynous, more feminine than androgynous. I still feel comfortable looking like a woman. And I felt sort of kind of, I think deep down, I was relieved that I wouldn't be able to have completely flat chests. I'd still have bumps because the muscles have stretched so much because the implants have been in so long. And I thought, yeah, that's okay because I can still look like a woman if I need to. And during this episode of grief, I felt for the first time that, no, for me to really heal, I have to fully accept that what I have denied my whole life is a gift. And that the qualities that I smother in femininity, the masculine qualities that exist naturally within me, that I embody, that I smother with my feminine performance, they are something that I need to explore and to love and to value. And I've never felt that before. And I just knew that something had fallen into place. Something important has changed over the last few days. And that I want to be a man. And because I've had my genitals removed and been on hormones for the most of my adult life, it doesn't make me any less of a man, because what we are comes from somewhere else. Our form, our body is symbolic of something else, the truth that exists within us. And no matter what we do to our body, it doesn't change that truth. We can diminish it, we can obfuscate it, but it's never going to go away, because it's our essence. Essentially, I am male. And so to reconnect with that and accept that and want to actually be that is something that I've never felt before. So, I feel a huge shift over the last few days, and I really feel that I can heal now. I have faith that the foundational truth of what I am is where I need to heal, because that was what was denied when I was a boy. That was what I denied in myself when I was a boy. That is what I hated in myself. That is what I tried my best to annihilate within me all my life, with drugs and surgery and performance. And I can't. And so I accept that. And I value that. That's new. That I value myself as a man. So I feel stable. I feel unafraid. I feel unafraid. I feel unafraid of being a man. And what was offered by my escape into womanness, though I value those years, I value what I learned, seeing the world from a different perspective and seeing how the world treats women, and integrating those experiences and feelings, and it's been very valuable. I think that what I can offer the world, what I can offer others, comes from myself as a man, and valuing that and discovering that is where it's at for me now, I think. And that's a huge change. Huge change. So, I'm going to read a poem. This is Second Sight by David White from the book Pilgrim. Sometimes you need the ocean light and colours you've never seen before painted through an evening sky. Sometimes you need your God to be a simple invitation, not a telling word of wisdom. Sometimes you need only the first shyness that comes from being shown things far beyond your understanding, so that you can fly and become free by being still and by being still here. And then there are times you need to be brought to ground by touch and touch alone. To know those arms around you and to make your home in the world just by being wanted. To see those eyes looking back at you as eyes should see you at last. Seeing you as you always wanted to be seen. Seeing you as you yourself had always wanted to see the world. To be brought to ground by touch and touch alone. To know those arms around you. To make your home in the world just by being wanted. To see those eyes looking back at you as eyes should see you at last. Seeing you as you always wanted to be seen. Seeing you as you yourself had always wanted to see the world. Nobody can know you. Nobody can see you. If you don't accept who and what you are. So transition as a strategy, or performance of identity as a strategy to be seen, is never going to work. It's always going to make you feel more isolated. And when your strategy is met with a response that is not what you want, you're going to feel such pain. So to be real is to be true. And to be true is to accept the foundation of your being as what you are, as male or female. And in that acceptance, to be stable and resilient and honest. And then to truly be seen. To truly discover intimacy. Not just in the eyes or the embrace of another person. In the contact with each moment of our lives. I am here. I am here. So, thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone in the comments, and thank you for your kindness, and thank you for being with me for all these years. I really feel like I'm making progress now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.